there's retail, which is highly concentrated. But also, let's just say you want to find something out that you don't know. Or even if you want to find out what the latest showings are at the movie you want to see this weekend. Say you use a search engine. How many choices you got there?
Well, you really just have one. I mean, the folks from Google will say, "Oh, we got choice. You can go over to Bing." But anyone who sort of moves back and forth between Bing and Google knows that Google has collected more information. That their searches are because there's more people using it on a day-to-day basis. The search works better. So this is a case in which the nature of the technology it tends to result in concentration of people going to one place. So, for all intents, I mean, as you're pointing out, there really isn't any real choice if you want a sophisticated search. You got to go to Google.
Yeah, well, you got Google, you got Yahoo, you got Microsoft, you got Bing, you got DuckDuckGo. And one thing about Google is that they will actually keep and then sell your search, the information you search on.
Yeah, and in many ways, it's like they say this is our private information. We collected this information. This is our business. But in many ways, think about that information that they've collected. This is information about you. It's the information about how you have been living your life, what you've been searching for, what you've been buying, what you've been thinking, what you've been reading.
They even know how long the mouse wavers over a particular product you might want to buy online. I mean, and by the way, I contest the idea that that's their information.
It's our information. It's
Right.
it's my personal information, and collective. When you put it into a big pile, it is the public information. This is the information about what the public is doing.
Right.
So there have been various times in this country when we've had cases in which we said, "Oh, all that information that you've put behind your wall, okay, maybe you've stored all of the grain in a particular part of this country in your silo. Well, you have to tell us, the public, how much grain is in that silo, so we know you are not speculating on the knowledge that you're gaining from how much grain is in your silo.
So you can't corner the market.
So you can't corner the market. You can't manipulate us. You can't sort of do with us what you will, and that is our information, and we are going to have it. So one of the things that we should be thinking about in this country right now is saying, hey, all that information that Google is gathering about what we're searching, also where we're driving, through their Google Maps and Waze, that's our information. That is public information. That is information that belongs to us, and they have put it behind their walls, and we need to get it back.
But I mean, like if you just look at, so we just talked about search engines, but if you want to go to do business in the arcade, food, and entertainment business, about two companies control about 96%. That's CEC Entertainment Inc. and Dave & Buster's. They pretty much divided up. After that, if you just want to get like paper products, you got Kimberly-Clark, you got Procter & Gamble, you got Georgia Pacific. They kind of divided up into thirds. Those three got about 90%. Wireless telecommunication carriers, 4. You got Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, and T-Mobile. They got about 94%. Satellite providers. You want to go get satellite? You call them DirecTV or Dish Network. What about getting a Coca-Cola? We call it pop where I'm from. But you're dealing with Coke. Look what I just said, Coca-Cola, right? But you're dealing with Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper, Snapple. I mean, I could go on and on. Is this a good way to run an economy? And does it have to be this way?
Well, some people do say it is a good way to run this economy, and they've actually won the debate for the last 35 years. I think it's now increasingly evident that it is a terrible way to run the economy. It crushes opportunity. It chokes off growth. It results in fewer jobs. It results in lesser jobs. It results in lower wages. The key thing is, I mean, in many cases, see what you just said. You mentioned these various sectors in which 2 or 3 companies control everything. Yeah, but the thing, it's actually worse than that often, because these companies then engage in cartel behavior. They chop up the country into different regions.
Right.
They say, you know what? You go take care of business there and I'll take care of business here. So even though it looks like there's two companies, it looks like there's three companies, it's actually where you are, it's often just one company.
Sure. And well, you made the point when it comes to autos, that it may look like three companies, but it's only one because they all engage the same supplier network. They have abandoned vertical integration, and they just kind of buy from the same people. So if you got a flaw in the supplier, then the flaw could end up in all three brands.
Yeah, and that's a fantastically important point. Is we're talking about concentration. How it harms us politically, how it harms us economically, how it harms us as workers and as consumers. The other problem with concentration is that the complex systems that we depend on, the financial system, the banking system, the industrial system, when there's concentration in those systems, it makes those systems fragile. It makes those systems subject to cascading crashes. Some of you will remember the term too big to fail, which we applied to the banks back at the time of the bailout in 2008, 2009. What is too big to fail? It's when you allow the few to concentrate their risk. And by concentrating their risk, it allows them to socialize their risk because someone has to bail them out when things go wrong, because otherwise all of society suffers.
Well, a thing about that too is that we passed a law that said that if you're too big to fail, then you would be designated as a strategically important financial institution, a SIFI. And they are complaining about being called SIFIs. And there's an answer. If you don't want to be a SIFI, you can just break up and downsize. But we really don't see that happening. They're too busy trying to lobby Congress.
Oh, that's the thing about monopoly profits. There's some theories that say that if you get monopoly profits, you reinvest them in innovation. I, in all of my time studying this, have seen that very, very rarely. If you got monopoly profits, what you invest them in is buying power.
Yeah, that's an interesting commodity around here in Congress.
It's a lot cheaper than buying innovation.